Welcome back. So the High Court in Johannesburg will today hand down its judgment in the MK Party's application to block the upcoming Judicial Service Commission's interviews. On Friday, the party gave reasons why it wants the JSC sittings, which start on Monday, to be postponed. This comes after the Western Cape High Court ruled 2 weeks ago that impeached Judge John Hlophe should be barred from participating in the candidate selection process. On Monday, the MK Party sought to have the gathering postponed, but was turned down by the JSC on the basis that the court had contemplated the consequences of Hlophe's absence in their ruling. Now, the High Court's judgment is expected to be released this afternoon, but we speak now and get some reaction to retired Constitutional Court Judge, Judge Johann Kriegler. Judge Kriegler, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, I want to start here. One of the arguments that's been put forward, Judge, by the Democratic Alliance is that if the MK Party wishes to have the sittings postponed, it will result in a waste of state funds to the tune of about 3 million rand. I wonder if that's the correct argument to be putting forward here, the concern over what it's going to cost us as a country. Is that a good enough argument for you, Judge?
Now, lady, good morning to you and to the viewers. I'm sorry, I'm not going to comment on a court case that is busy being argued at the moment. That would be grossly improper of me. The issues are clear. What the judge has got to deal with is his business, and it's not for you and me to discuss it publicly on television. I, as a retired judge, can certainly not do so.
Yeah, but there is, of course, the question of whether or not this argument of having the MK Party's Judge John Hlophe as part of the JSC is concerning for the integrity of the JSC in and of itself. I mean, it's an argument that has been made by a few role players here. What do you say about the importance of the integrity of the JSC and also the interruption of when it has its functions actually taking place and conducts interviews?
And the lady one must see this current fight in the Johannesburg court in its historical context. It starts way back in 2008 when then Judge President Hlophe visited two Constitutional Court judges. The story has been adding momentum to itself over the last 14 years, what's it now, nearly 16 years. And the current issue before the court is merely a reflection of the political disease in the country at the moment, where political parties don't talk to one another, they shout at one another, where parliamentarians are at loggerheads with one another. The issue whether somebody should be sitting on the Judicial Service Commission or not should be something that should be capable of resolution between political parties, acting sensibly, acting in the public interest. At the moment, it is the caterwauling and the fighting is harmful to the administration of justice. It's harmful to the rule of law. You should not have this kind of quasi-political fight around who is to be sitting on the panel that appoints judges. That should be a fairly abstract clinical decision that should be decided on apolitical grounds. What we have at the moment is people arguing, ostensibly arguing law and arguing the Constitution this way and the Constitution that way, but ultimately it's about politics. And the politicians should be solving the political problems, not giving it to the judges and involving them in political squabbles. Yeah. It's undesirable, but it's the situation we're in.
Yeah, we've got up on the screen here some of the views that have been put forward by the various political parties. Of course, the Democratic Alliance believing that if a judge has been impeached from a previous position, that they should not be able to serve on the judiciary, on the JSC rather, which is an interesting one, right? And then you've got the Umkhonto weSizwe party that says the automatic effect of the interdict will be to render the JSC to be improperly constituted. It's a big crisis here, and I wonder at what point we're going to be able to see political parties, as you say, Judge, resolve some of their issues on their own without needing to include the judiciary, and really what that does to the public image of the judiciary. I mean, if you're a judge presiding over a case like this, for instance, what is it that is top of mind for you, and what it does to how you are viewed as well, if you rule one way or another?
In the letter, you put your finger on it. It puts judges in a position where they've got to take decisions that are politically loaded and therefore likely to be misjudged by the losers. We've seen what the public protector has said about the former public protector rather, has said about the judgment of the SCA. This kind of involvement of the judiciary and essentially political disputes results in the kind of denigration and humiliation of judges that we saw in the case of Mzim Kwebane earlier this week. It's undesirable, it's unhealthy, but it's the reality at the moment.
Yeah. I want to take a look at some of the ideas that have been put forward, or arguments that have been put forward by other political parties. Judges, we put that up on the screen. Action SA has been saying if Hlophe is deemed fit to serve as the leader of the opposition party in Parliament, the same standards should apply for his eligibility to sit on the JSC. That's Action SA. EFF has said he's the most qualified person. Now we're going to have a combination of the most intelligent people in the JSC. And it's an ongoing discussion, of course, where we open up the views as well for the viewers as well at Newzroom 405. Judge, I think there's also the issue around the function of the JSC, right, where there are requests that interviews be postponed, but we're talking about postponements that go on for months. Let's talk about what that does to when we're postponing interviews and we need to be placing people in various courts and we're unable to do so. Your greatest concern around the function of the judiciary and how that perhaps is being interrupted here.
Now, lady, yes, it's both the High Court and the Magistrates Court. The mechanisms that are created in the case of judges in the Constitution, in the case of magistrates in the statute, for disciplinary hearings and for action to be taken pursuant thereto, are theoretically ideal. But the systems have not actually worked as they should. The case of former Judge Hlophe is a case in point. Whatever the merits of the decision, whether it was right or wrong in the end for the man to be dismissed, it took far too long. And it took the Judicial Service Commission far too long to get to that point. When political issues, politically sensitive issues, such as the Hlophe case, are on the agenda, it's better that they would be dealt with firmly and as quickly as possible. Postponing them, delaying them, allowing Stalingrad tactics to be applied does not ease the solution to the problem. And what it does is it diminishes the status and the public perception of the body concerned. We have instances in the Magistrates Commission where people are still being tried for complaints ranging back to 2014 and 2016. That's simply not acceptable.
You talk about delays in Stalingrad tactics, Judge, and I think my final thought would be if you think that perhaps as a way of really seeing a resolution, that this is a matter that rather should be dealt with in Concord.
There are certainly many cases that could be dealt with differently, but Naledi, I want to emphasize it's not the system that is wrong, it's the way that people are applying the system that raises the difficulties. There's nothing wrong with the Judicial Service Commission system. There's nothing wrong with what the Constitution says and what the statute says about the Judicial Service Commission. We have the current impasse being decided in the Johannesburg court because of what people failed to do in relation to the powers that they were given in the Constitution a long, long time ago. Yeah. It's a human error. It's not a systemic error.
Yeah, very interesting. Judge, an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving us your time here on Newsfeed AM. That was retired Constitutional Court Judge, Judge Johann Kriegler speaking to us there. We take a short break. We're back.